It's been 6 months since her death, but this weekend, Whitney Houston will be back on big screens across America, starring in Sparkle, a film she also co-produced. It was a project close to her heart, and those who worked with her say the Whitney they saw every day on set was far different from the woman who met a tragic end. ABC's Deborah Roberts reports.
His eyes on the sparrow.
It's an emotional pinnacle any movie strives for, but this one was born of tragedy.
He watches.
Whitney Houston, her voice battered yet still beautiful, belting out "His Eye is on the Sparrow." Her very last on-screen performance. The song resonates with her own gospel roots before she became a giant star, then flamed out so publicly earlier this year. 6 months after her death, Whitney's starring in Sparkle, a remake of her favorite film, one she would watch over and over as a teen back in the 70s. In a role that was to be her much-anticipated comeback, Whitney plays a strict Christian matriarch with 3 daughters,
My babies.
all gifted singers. She wants them focused on school and God. They want stardom. The film was a dream project for Whitney, who helped bring it to life with Deborah Martin Chase, her longtime friend and producing partner. Together, they've had a string of hits, including The Princess Diaries. Sparkle was special for them both.
It was the first time that we'd seen young women of color fabulous. And so when she mentioned 12 years ago, what about we remake Sparkle? I was like, oh my God, yes, of course.
But a lot would happen during those 12 years. The project stalled when the R&B star Aaliyah, originally cast in the title role, died in a plane crash. Then Whitney spiraled into a much-publicized drug problem.
Were you worried about whether Whitney could really rise to the occasion given her struggles?
Honestly, I never doubted that she could do it. I knew her, and I knew how much it meant to her. She both wanted this and needed it.
So last year, when Sparkle was finally ready to shoot, she says Whitney was ready, taking on the role of no-nonsense Emma.
Well, I guess I'll be mean, because I will not encourage you to drive your life straight into hell.
She says Whitney bonded with co-star Jordan Sparks, the American Idol breakout star who wowed us with those looks and that voice.
She saw a lot of herself in Jordan.
All I think about is music.
Started about the same age, thrust into the world in a big way. You know, winner of American Idol. And so when she wasn't working and Jordan was performing, I get called, I gotta come up and see my baby.
I can't fly with one wing.
And when it was time for Jordan's big moment with the song One Wing, her idol, Whitney, was there.
When I did One Wing, there was this moment where she came up from the audience and I was walking on the side. She goes, "Come here." And she put my face in her hands and she was like, "You're everything that we were looking for." And I just completely lost it.
But her most memorable moment would come in a song with Whitney.
They brought me Celebrate. I was listening to it. I loved the song. I fell in love with it because it's just so happy and joyful. And then they said, "We're thinking about this as a duet." And I was like, "Duet with who?" They said Whitney, and I was just like, "Please, Lord, let it happen. Please, please, please let it happen."
And it did. Whitney would record the track on February 7th. 4 days later, she was dead.
There were other times in her life, had I gotten that call, I would have been devastated, but not totally surprised. It was the last thing I ever would have thought.
It was the night of the Grammys. Jordan was getting ready to walk the red carpet with Whitney to promote Sparkle when her phone rang.
I couldn't handle it. I was like, you're lying to me. So we were like, okay, well, let's turn on the news. If it's there, then maybe that's confirmed. So we turned it on and, there across the bottom, Whitney Houston passes away. And it was like a movie where there's just no reaction. Like I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't say anything. I was in complete shock, and somebody had to, you know, sit me down before I fell over, and I just lost it. I completely lost it.
For Deborah Martin Chase, this is a bittersweet week. She's releasing a treasured project without its biggest star. Now, a haunting voice from the grave, a reminder of what was.
I feel like this is my gift to her because this movie will be what people remember. They will remember her beautiful and spiritual and strong and passionate from this movie.
He watches. Thank you, Lord.
I'm Deborah Roberts for Nightline in Los Angeles.